What an honor to have Judgment, one of the games from RGG Studios and Sega, as our first one. So it's going to be a good one, obviously, because, well, it's from them. It's going to be good. So, the first thing we got to talk about is the fact that it does take place in 2018 Kamurocho. That's right, we're back in Kamurocho again, and it's a good kind of familiar that we're going to have, which is more than I can say about a lot of other games that come out and are familiar for the wrong reasons. It takes place with the story of a now detective, former lawyer, Yagami, who is going through the streets of Kamurocho to solve the mystery of a serial killer. I don't want to go too far into the narrative and spoil anything, so we're just going to leave it at that point of being that vague. One of the main important things of the series, of this spin-off, which is going to do a lot for the series as a whole, is the fact that they are doing a lot of stuff different on purpose. And that's very, very good, because if you have a spin-off that's exactly like the mainline series, then there's really no point in that series existing, really. So you got to kind of justify its existence alongside of the mainline series. So one of the major differences, of course, is the fact that karaoke is not going to be in Judgment. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be disappointed because that's probably one of the most popular minigames in the Yakuza series of the many ones. But there are a lot of fun regulars making an appearance again, such as Virtua Fighter and a lot of other Sega IPs actually appearing as playable games within the game, so kind of getting meta in that sense. Some of the differences are the minigames in this being a lot of detective-focused minigames, such as lockpicking, drone flying to do certain investigations, as well as the investigations themselves, and trying to get evidence for your future court cases. Another thing that does come back is the fact that Yagami is a typical Yakuza-style protagonist, despite being a detective and despite this not being a Yakuza game. He still brings his, charming will for justice like Kiryu or Majima have, while at the same time also still having, his smarmy, smart-ass type humor that you do expect from these type of games. It's a good type of the Yakuza games and series, and now in Judgment, do a very good job of mixing a lot of purposely ironic and kind of over-the-top humor and marrying it with a very good drama side of things. In this case, it's a detective drama, and in the Yakuza mainline series, it's a gang drama. But they do a good job of kind of carrying that in both series while making them, again, unique to your own, which is very important for this spin-off to be itself. They do a lot of good social commentary. It's appeared in the games in the past, but this one comes really heavy with it, but it's not a bad thing. It does a very good job of being very meme-filled, whether it's people actually using the term and saying stuff like meme, saying someone looks like a snack, and stuff like that. Just this modern swag type of stupid meme that you see on the internet now to keep it kind of current, because again, it does take place in late 2018, which when this game dropped in Japan would have been relevant, and kind of trying to coexist with the current times, which will be interesting to see how it ages. But regardless, these type of games are so over the top and ridiculous already that it shouldn't have any issues being an instant classic, and Judgment is no different than those games. I can't drive home how important it is, because this is probably the third time in this video that I've said it already, but it is very, 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 very necessary for the game to be different, and it does that good job without totally abandoning the style and stuff you do expect from the series, which now I do have a message for veteran Yakuza players, or those who are at least familiar with the games somewhat. If you aren't really digging it in Chapter 1, Chapter 1 is necessary to introduce a lot of the new mechanics and detective mechanics that weren't there in the previous games. So it's very important for them to be there, and what you're going to want to do is just power through it. If you're really not enjoying it, I personally did, but if you're not enjoying it, make sure you get through that. Some people weren't crazy about the lockpicking games, and I played a lot of it in Morrowind and Oblivion, and a lot of those games, it's difficult for some, or some people just don't like the type of gameplay, but it's really not that bad once you get used to it. So if you power through that, after Chapter 1, when you get in Chapter 2 and on, that is when the game starts picking up, and it starts to really become that familiar experience where more of the mini games and side missions and stuff start getting pushed out. They really didn't want to include too much of that in Chapter 1, it seems, because they really wanted you to get used to the new stuff. But then they finally kind of reward you for getting through that. I make it sound like a punishment. It's not. Again, it's just I've heard some complaints of that where people were kind of whining about the that type of mechanic. Okay, so wrapping it up, Yakuza, Jesus. Judgment is definitely worth picking up, and it's really important that this game does well, because when they originally tried to bring the Yakuza series here years ago, it didn't do that well, and almost, it's kind of a miracle that it is doing as good as it is now. But now, it's making a lot of money, and they're able to throw money back at it, and that's very good for the people who enjoy the series, and I believe it's a series that a lot of people need to get exposed to, because it is a really, really good one. I originally got into the series back in 2014 when Pat from formerly Two Best Friends Play, currently of Castle Super Beast, was doing his Yakuza 4 Let's Play at the time, and I did have a lot of fun with that. So that it's a really great series, and if you haven't played it before, this is not a bad jump in point too. So you should check out this game if you're not 100% sure and want to check it out. Anyways, or looking for a fun little detective game that has a lot of action in it as well, because the Yakuza style combat combo action with upgrades and skills and stuff like that is still in here, very alive and well. Again, it does a good job of mixing what's tried and true to keep it familiar enough, including being set in Kamurocho, where it feels like a great homecoming with brand new freshness to it. So very, very good job in doing that. Congrats to RGG Studios and Sega for doing another fantastic game. And of course, if the game does well, I do want to see more of Yagami and his missions and stories, along with some brand new Yakuza games. So the more we support this, the more it will come out. Again, that's why it's been getting ported to PC and everything. People that aren't console players are able to experience this great series as well. Let's keep it coming. Again, Judgment is well worth picking up, and if you do enjoy it, make sure to get as many of the Yakuza games you can, as well, at least what's on PC and PS4, and I don't expect you to go all the way back, but if you do, grab a PS3 and PS2 and get at it. The games are really worth it, and this one is no different.